All right, good morning, everybody. It's Batjack JW here, Saturday morning, Collectors Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you're here. So, yeah, I know it's not October anymore, but you know what? It's my favorite time of the month, and you know, if you think about it, it's like Christmas. Christmas is a hog. They take November and December. So you know what? I'm taking my November as also Halloween. No, Halloween is my favorite. Is definitely my favorite month and holiday and everything. So, no doubt about it. So, okay, we got some comments, and again with the comments, if I didn't read your comment, there's a couple of reasons why. Either it came in too late by the time we taped this, or for some reason the YouTube held it back, which is, you know, and it'll do that for some weird, odd reasons. Also, if your comment if it's kind of not family friendly, it'll actually pull it. So, and also, you know, we're a family show, so we are not going to read. There's some things you can't read. So, okay, anyway. First sum up, Danger Man. Danger Man's got a good one here. Glad you like the wax. I know Gunbroker can be frustrating. Most of my collection has come from there. If I could give any advice to someone new at this who is trying to find a specific firearm, to remember that it might take a while. That is very, very true. The starting bid may be inflated. It may be a Python, and it doesn't mean it's worth $2,000 if it's all scratched up. Yeah, or some millionaire already overbid on it. And I've been outbid more times in the last few minutes than I can count. Just when you think you got your hands on your dream, it's gone. Sometimes for $1,500 more than your highest bid. However, these things go in spurts. A month later, you'll see the exact firearm at a better price, and hardly no one bid on it. All good advice. Excellent advice. That's all stuff that I definitely use. You got to know when to walk away from stuff. You got to, it's kind of a hold them or fold them kind of a deal, and you really do. So anyway, definitely good advice on. And I have a love or hate relationship with gunbrokers. All right. Slimfire 54, nice Collectors Radio talk, JW. Thank you. I've used Renaissance wax polish on some of my handgun grips, and it works great and lasts a long time too. I have to try it on some metal, on the metal slim. Yeah, it that's, you know, I'm actually glad that you guys, Danger Man had talked to me about it, and it does actually do a really good job. You can see there on the metal. Look at that. And that's just a, Uberti single action that I've got. That I love this stuff. It's been actually doing good, and it helps me. What it does for me, for sure, as a video maker here that we do the videos, it helps me showcase the stuff better. It makes them look better because it's a little bit of makeup on them. So that little secret there. Okay, Sean Lee, another great show. It's become part of my Saturday mornings, just like Hickok 45's Sunday shoot-around is for my Sundays. Keep it up, bud. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate that. KSFWG, don't forget to remove the grips and put a light coat of Renaissance wax on the grip frame of the firearm, especially in those high humidity areas. Collectors Radio show just keeps getting better. Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, when I used to live on the island, oh my gosh. Now, a lot of old habits die hard for me too. I store my stuff with a light coat of what? Ballistol. I am a firm believer and user of Ballistol. I love Ballistol. That's all I pretty much use is Ballistol. So I'm a big fan of it. Huge fan of Ballistol. Ever since I started using it, and I tell you something, when I lived on the island, I've tried other products, many other products, and always still had problems with rust. When I started using Ballistol, I had nothing that rusted. Nothing. Everything I used it on, it cured it. It no rust on it at all. And that's one thing about Ballistol that I like is it's not something that that it's like, oh, well, it's the latest, greatest product. We just came out with it. No, it's been around since like World War One or something. Even before that, I think it was developed in Germany. Great stuff. All right. The Scottish American, the crazy Scotsman. But no, the Scottish American, and we're glad to have him over here. Another fine show, brother. Some beautiful firearms you brought out. Magazines can get extremely high. That's no joke. So can boxes. The boxes, absolutely. Crazy number. People pay crazy numbers for a cardboard box. That is so very true. That is just no question about it. Thank you. Again, a shout out to the Scotsman, the Scottish American. He's always done a lot of good things for a lot of people here in the YouTube community, and especially for our dear friend that we lost, Mr. Holster. Definitely miss that guy, and I appreciate everything you did for him, Scotsman there. Lead 8541. That old 45 may rattle a bit, but it's still, I need some glasses, but it is still way cool. Great video. Thanks, Lead. And Lead, if you haven't checked out Lead's channel, Lead 8541, I like his channel. You don't know, I like these channels, you never know what you're going to get. There's always something different that they're doing. And I tell you, Lead 8541's got the best bacon video I've ever seen. If you're listening, Lead, I need another bacon video. Okay. Jerry Johnson II. I would love to have a Colt Ace 1911 in my collection. I only have a Springfield loaded black two-tone in 45 ACP. It is a sweet-looking 1911. That's awesome. So, Jerry, I got a question for you. Is your Springfield Armory the one that is polished sides and blackened rounded areas? Because that is the very first time I ever seen one of those was a Springfield Armory, and I really wanted it bad. And that's exactly the reason why I ended up with that that Colt Combat Elite, because it resembled that Springfield. But honestly, I would have rather had the Springfield, because that one is just awesome. That's the first time I seen one, and you know what, Springfield Armory, and I'm gonna have to put a blanket over my Colt here. I think they make a really good 1911 in a lot of cases, sometimes better than some of the others. But yeah, no, Springfield Armory is what a great company, and I love their 1911 line, because you can get stuff that is kind of on the lower end. Well, used to be super low, but now it's like gotten really high. But you can get, pretty much like for instance, the Garrison. The Garrison's a great 1911 that's right around the $700 marker. Or you can go all out and get a $3,500 custom shop one from them. So what a fantastic company, Springfield Armory 1911s. If you didn't get them or get into them, I highly recommend it, because you're missing out. They good quality stuff. Excellent. All right, Joe P, my man Joe. Joe, how are you doing this morning? All right. Love that old can of Unique in the background. I'm going to tell you something, Joe. There's some things I do specifically because I know you're watching. All right, Frank Buddha. I hope Buddha. I hope I'm pronouncing that, Frank. I apologize if I'm not. I bought a brand new 3-inch Colt Python for less than a Model 19 snub nose costs on Gunbroker. I believe you. And how do you like that thing? I like that gun. I mean, I bought it just because I've always wanted a little 3-inch Python, and I certainly wasn't going to pay, $5,000 or whatever they are going for the originals. Or what is it, that the Snake Eyes one or something like that? So no, I'm glad that they brought those out, because I love that thing. It's great, and I didn't have to pay. I paid a fraction of what it should be. All right, and I carry one, my man. Nice chat, very interesting. Okay, cool. So we got through. There's the comments, and we are going to shut this down. I'm not much of a computer person. I really am not. So can't forget it. Okay. All right, here we go. So this time around, we're going to be talking about the Colt Classic model 1911 that they got out. This is awesome. They when I first actually heard that they were doing this was actually through Mr. Holster. Mr. Holster did a video on this. They were talking about it in SHOT Show and new stuff that was coming out. So, Colt was obviously, and I love to always see what they do, and I'm glad that they stick with still making the old school government model 1911. So this one here has got a little bit of history, and also when I started to do some reading up on it and everything, and Ken Hackathorn, I mean he is my 1911 idol. Ken Hackathorn started talking about this and how it came about and everything like that. So it's really neat that what he was talking about of the roll marks that they put on it, going back to the pre-Series 70 roll mark, and how they those are kind of dated back to the old 50s and 60s roll mark. You can see it right there. So that's really cool that they did do that. And I love how they still keep a traditional government model, with the smaller grip safety there, the A1 kind of grip safety, and the spur hammer and the short trigger. They really did a good job on this one. Now, they did it for, they wanted to do basically like a retro gun that also would appeal to the market as a baseline gun for somebody doing a bunch of custom work on it. Similar to like what the Mark IV Series 70 did. Basically, a lot of those, if you've seen them around, a good handful of them are altered in some way. Be it the sights or something's been removed or jacked around with on it, which also kind of makes it in the Colt collector's market kind of a rarity. If you can find one that's not been touched, is it impossible? No, absolutely not. They're around. It just also, and Joe brought up a good point, one of our subscribers here, and a long time subscriber I consider. It depends where you're at too. It really does. I know definitely firsthand what that's like, coming from an island where there's nothing available. So, and you have to be subjected to whoever's got it, and if it's a shop that has it, well, how much they're gonna, they can just pretty much name their price. So, all right. But no, this one's really neat. Hackathorn was talking about it, which got me very interested in it. And I jumped on it when I first I went to a gun show, and I absolutely was like, I'm going to find this gun. I have to find it. And sure enough, I ran into it. Now, this is pre-pandemic, so I got it for right under the $800 mark where it's supposed to be. Of course, now inflation happens, and of course, all that stuff. So now at one point they were jumping up to $1,500 to $2,000, which is crazy. Like, I'm like, what? That if you're gonna jump into that kind of numbers, you might as well look for an original, one from that time period or whatever. That it'd be worth more anyway. So, but no, this one, it's awesome. I think now. Far as price point goes, do I think it's worth $1,000? Yeah, I'd probably pay $1,000 for one of these without even really thinking, because I think it's worth it. I really do. So they come out with it in stainless. It's also in 38 Super. It'd be really cool if they did it in 9mm, but this one here is in 45 caliber automatic. The ACP. So awesome, good stuff. The real 1911, right? So. National Match barrel fitted, and it's stainless, so it is nice. Now, at some point, Colt, they start to switch over. Now, all of them right here, the barrel hood, this section here is the narrow. It's the narrow barrel hooded fit cut there. So if you have some of the older ones, if you have an older 1911, you look at that, it's wider. The reason from what I remember they did that was for the gold cups. The gold cups have that flattened ridge on the top. It kind of in lines with that. So they kind of now have eliminated it, and now that's all pretty much like that. And then they're all going to have the lower ejection wall here. And Hackathorn actually made a good comment about that. And he said, a lot of people say, well, the ejection wall is for ease or reliability. Hackathorn says, look, I'm paraquoting it best, or yeah, he says, look, if the height of the ejection wall was a factor in reliability, it would have been fixed in 1912. So he's got a good point there. But no, it's for the brass, so it doesn't get dented and everything. So when it comes out there for us hand loaders, so we're not spending time removing the dent out of the casing. Maybe we ought to do a video and actually look at that. I don't know. I've never noticed it myself, and I shoot a lot of the old school ones. So anyway, of course I got my grubby little hands on one of these, and there's a lot of cool stuff on it. There's a lot of features I like. I've changed mine around a little bit. So some of the things that I did for mine, and of course I'm like the old school stuff anyway, so I wanted to dress up mine to look like one from the 50s, and that's what I've done here with mine, or the 50s, early 60s gun. So I had some extra parts laying around, as most of us that dabble in 1911s, we got a lot of extra parts in boxes. So I added the arch mainspring housing to it. Now you can still get those. You can get them on eBay from various different companies, or Ed Brown actually still makes these, which is great. I actually I had an old school wide spur hammer on it. I wanted the wide variation of it. It comes with a spur hammer to begin with, nothing wrong with it, but I just kind of wanted that a little bit of an old school touch, different, and put that wide hammer on it. You can see that, look at that. So that's kind of what I wanted on mine. They left the awesome teardrop thumb safety, which is my favorite. That is my favorite thumb safety right there. Okay, and then I left the original short trigger on there because that's what I like. Short trigger, perfect. And so, of course, this has gone through a couple of changes. I've changed some things out over time. Oh, and then I put the old school 50s style plastic stocks on there that they started to have. They ran out of the during World War II. They had the phenolic resin grips that they were putting out, and instead of the nice wood grips, so they kind of put out the phenolic resin grips. And then, of course, as time progressed into the 50s, the later 50s and stuff in the 60s, they ran out, obviously, so they started to make their own with, or make new phenolic resin grips with their logo on it instead. So all this stuff, you can, if you wanted to change your Colt Classic into something like this, it's totally doable. I mean, it's not, you can go on there, you can find these wider spur hammers. They may be a little bit more money these days, because of Colt and everything. A lot of their older products like that, you're gonna have to find an older one. I don't think anybody really makes a new one that's not like how theirs are. Their original Colt ones are nicely polished and everything, but you can get them. It already comes with a short trigger, so I mean, nothing wrong with that. The mainspring housing it comes with is the flat one, and it's polymer. Now those have a place. I used to take those out and throw them in a bucket and say, man, I'll just throw these away. I actually ended up using those for my lightweight 1911s, my ones that are made of alloy frames and stuff, especially like my 22 that I did that has a para-ordnance alloy frame with a Kimber slide unit on it that's done up in 22. Everything on that gun was, the whole idea, the name of the game was lightweight. So what's kind of a component on these things, other minus the barrel, that is going to be the most heaviest? Mainspring housing. What's that big chunk of steel right there? So boom, that polymer one came in handy. So I run that on that one, and I have a lightweight Springfield Armory Commander, that lightweight frame that I run it on. So those do have the flat mainspring housings on it, mainly because of weight. But other than that, if it's just something like this, I definitely like the arched. I'm a really big fan of the arched mainspring housing. I just like it, the way it looks and the way it feels in the hand. So also, because everything else is pretty much the sights are, they're not like the old school GI sights. They're a little higher, they're taller, and they're a little bit more opened up, especially at front sight. So take it or whatever. Actually, if I had a choice, I would have liked the old school profile sights. It would have been just for nostalgia, really. Just that's it. But as far as shooting and everything, yeah, these are a lot better. I actually put a little gold bead on the front of mine. So, but yeah, everything else is there. And then the grips, if you're looking for those style of grips, you can actually get them. The old school plastic grips and everything. VintageGrips.com, they make them. So you can still get them. They cost a little bit, but it's a company that's still producing them out. You can get them. The original ones of those type of grips, these plastic brown grips that Colt was doing, and that's really all they are. They're just plastic brown grips. They shrunk over time. A lot of them shrunk, and they don't fit on the frame. So you get a set, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, this doesn't fit on my 1911. Or if you look at some of them, you get them, you look at them, and look at this from the screw, the screws and everything. They're actually getting, pulled apart. So very interesting that that kind of material didn't hold up. Over that time, it really didn't, and if you go to some of these places, you try to buy them. In fact, there's one listing right now. I actually just saw it on eBay. I took a picture of it because I couldn't believe it. Somebody wanted $600 for a set of the original ones. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. I could not believe that was actually happening. So, all right. The other thing too that I'm a big fan of when it comes to these 1911s and stuff like that. Here's a good rule of thumb. You get your 1911 in a box. The first thing you just leave in the box is this right here, the original magazine. I cannot tell you how many times I've had somebody, complain about something. That is one of the weakest links in the 1911. Now, there's many makers of them out there, and I'm not getting paid or whatever, or trying to, I'm not doing it on purpose to promote them. But I will say this: the best 1911 magazine out there that I use, that I think, is the Wilson Combat. The Wilson Combat magazine is definitely the gold standard for me. If I'm running a 1911 and I have the Wilson Combat magazine and I'm having problems, I can pretty much 99% say the magazine is not the issue. Will Wilson is a guy that I love his products. I love his firearms because that's a guy that came from shooting. He's a person that loves the 1911 and he's devoted his entire life to it and has made, and definitely with his company has continued to grow, not reduce, grow. So he's definitely putting out a lot more products and a lot more other cool stuff, and his 1911s are the way to go. The other thing I definitely use from them is their shock buffs. I always use their shock buffs. I love them. In fact, I got one right here in this one. This actually, what I did upgrade internally with this is it does have his flat wire recoil spring and the guide rod, including that shock buff. And you can always hear it. I can tell that's got a shock buff in it. There's no metal contact in there. You can hear it. And, that's something like that will last me a good long time. And I intend for it to last for a while because in the end, I want somebody to toss it in my casket. So, all right. And leather holsters and stuff. I've actually started to do my own leather because a friend of mine was doing his own leather, and I actually started getting into it, and so I did my own leather holsters, because if you guys know how expensive leather holsters can be, this is just a real plain Jane pancake style holster. I just modeled it after one that already exists with the top thumb brake. Leads in there, it's got the extra thing, and it comes right out. Yes, so that is that is my holster I made, and of course I use it's an oxblood color and with red stitching. I like that look, and this one came out really nice. And I had this for a couple of years now. I've been using it, and back when I used to work at a range and was we required to carry one at all times, this is what I carried mine in at all times. And I had my my magazine pouch as well. So, but any other things that I can brag about on this thing, or But no, I've had it for a long time now, a little while, and I've shot it a lot, a great deal, and I've been enjoying it a great deal, a lot. I kind of am interested in purchasing, another kind of commercial 1911 that from maybe an older one or something like that. But it really does. It depends like where the price, because the prices of this stuff is just going up like crazy, and of course our wages don't. But I'm a broke collector. I don't have the money to get the cream of the cream. So a lot of times I settle for something that's perhaps flawed, or maybe not the greatest collector's value. I'll give you an example. Like I actually wouldn't want a World War II 1911 that is pristine in the box. I wouldn't. Why? It's like, oh well, you're a collector. That's the best. One, it would probably cost like it probably cost them as much as a house, or it just what I want the history. I want one that you can look at it and look at every wear mark or every scratch and go, wow, I wonder how that it obtained that. It's got its battle scars. It's been there. It's done that. And if it could talk, you'd sit there for days listening to this thing. That's the kind of stuff I like. I like to see that, it's like, wow, what person carried that? Where were they? Wonder, what they could have done with it, or, all that kind of stuff. That to me is the ultimate cool factor. So that's awesome stuff there. But the magazine reliability, that's certainly, that is certainly an issue. I knew a guy that he was like, oh yeah, this 1911 is junk. It doesn't work. I sent it to a gunsmith. My question to him was, what magazine were you using? Were you using the original one, because it's garbage? And he had this old 1911. I seen his magazine that he had with it. It was one of these. It was just a terrible magazine. I remember asking him, it's like, what are you, is this what you're running or what? But I didn't even bother with it. It just, start with a good magazine. It doesn't have to be a Wilson Combat, but there's other ones out there. Chip McCormick, Checkmate makes good ones. Even the Brownells ones are really good. But get a quality magazine. If you're sitting there going, well, look, these are, I think, some time ago, it's crazy how I'm actually saying that now. When I started getting into these, you could buy these old GI magazine style like this for $10 a piece, like $9 or something like that. I thought, oh, look at that. I'll just buy 5 of them and I'll be good. In the end, you're just buying a bunch of crap magazines. Half of them will work. The other half will work for a little while until something happens and splits or breaks, and then it quits working good, when you should have just bought 2 really good ones. So anyway, but enough of that. We'll get out of here and let you guys get back to your weekend there. So be safe. Hopefully you have a good one. And thanks for everybody for tuning in and listening and everything and checking us out. And here we'll give you a better look at the table and what we had out today, and taking a look at all the stuff that we had. A set of old school style keys, grips, and everything, and all the stuff in the background, right?